So, how are you approaching things in your clinic? So, I know you have this membership model in your clinic. How do you, when people come in, how do you approach this aging and vitality aspect?
Yeah, so we really, not to sound sort of basic, but we try to meet first people where they are, right? So when folks come into our practice, we usually spend about 2 hours in that first visit to try to understand, what are they searching for? Are they a health optimizer, a biohacker, or are they just somebody who's needing some real guidance and has been to several different places and just hasn't gotten, let's say, the answers they need, or they don't feel they're on that path that they really want to be on. And so as we identify those things, we always weave in, well, so what do you see for yourself in the next 5, 10, 20, 30? And I ask that question even of people who are in their 60s, and I've got a couple of folks who are in their 70s. Like, what does that look like for you over the next 10 to 20 years? Because if we take the typical example in the United States, most grandparents cross a threshold where perhaps they can't get on the ground, and to play with their grandkids and those types of things. So a lot of it is about what do they want to accomplish. And, I look at like Dr. Peter Attia, he talks a lot about that, like kind of his centenarian decathlon. And so, we weave some of that in as we're talking to our clients about what they want to accomplish. And then we really sort of identify, we start talking about aging, and I really talk a lot about inflammation and how all the variables that drive inflammation, right? So the big ones that we know are stress, our connections, our lack of sleep, lack of exercise, what we put into our system, foods, chemicals, et cetera, all those things that drive inflammation and aging, we really start to identify and start talking about. And then, we really get into the weeds when we start looking at the risk factors for, high level cardiovascular disease, for example. We're doing the advanced cardiovascular panels, trying to identify things earlier for people so that as we identify those things, we can start really reversing and working on, turning that process down, if you will. So a lot of it is focused, and I write out things for our clients where the word inflammation takes sort of center stage for a lot of what we do, and how that then is driving a lot of the different aging components that we have.
Yeah, the aging theory, people talk about, of course, cellular senescence, and mitochondria decline and genetic changes. Is your clinic engaging in things like NAD therapy and other forms of therapies that may be able to help with mitochondria or even cellular rejuvenation? Like how would you approach? I just asked you a bunch of questions at once.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. So short answer is yes, all of the above. We are engaged in a lot of these things. And so with, as our clients come in, we have a roadmap that we're working with. So we want to understand, obviously, their hormones. We want to understand their basic chemistries, their sugars, et cetera, gut health, and how they're processing everything that they're being exposed to. Like, we want to get the basics and the baselines down. Once we've done that, then we can start saying, okay, how do we now optimize some of the metabolic pathways, right? So are you methylating correctly? Are you have the necessary cofactors? You mentioned NAD, for example, right? So are there ways to deliver, NAD through capsule or precursors like the NRs and nicotinamide ribose and those types of things? We do NAD drips here in the office for our clients. We do other sort of other anti-inflammatory drips as well, and immune boosting drips to help our clients kind of really start optimizing all these pathways. And then, as you're familiar and with your guidance as well, we have started looking at, regenerative therapies like exosomes and stem cells for some of our clients to really start, looking at how do we, really, really look to the future of where medicine needs to go, which is, how do we really sort of address damage or tissue injury and mitochondrial efficiency, as you're mentioning, at a much earlier pace with some of these newer technologies that are available. Interestingly, too, we have a subpopulation of some long COVID cases here. And so, we've started looking at mitochondrial efficiency and some of that with COVID as well. And how do you, boost thyroid function for mitochondrial efficiency? How do you use other supplements that may be out there for mitochondrial efficiency? Other inflammatory pathways, we use, other molecules like nitric oxide and glutathione and sulforaphane. I mean, so we really try to weave in a lot of these supplements and other sort of tools that are available to us that most people perhaps just aren't familiar with in the general population.